Now, another method that we could use to derive the quadratic formula involves a little bit of strategery. And so what I'm going to do is over here I'm going to outline the steps that I'm following. And over here I'm going to actually perform those steps on ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, that general or standard form of a quadratic equation. Okay? Now, this is just, as we're going through here, you might be saying, why are you doing what you're doing? And so my answer to that is going to be because I can. It's legally. It's legal algebraically, is what I meant to say. Okay, so step number 1, I'm going to subtract c from both sides of the equation. Why? Because I can. Now I have ax squared plus bx equals a negative c. All right? Now, we're not completing the square, and so it's perfectly okay for the lead coefficient of a to stay there because we're not completing the square anymore. We're doing something different. We're deriving the quadratic formula, but by another method. The second step you're going to do is you're going to multiply both sides by 4a. All right, so I'm going to multiply this side of my equation by 4a, and I'm going to multiply this side of my equation by 4a. Hey, I can multiply both sides of an equation by any quantity I choose. Now, when I take the 4a and I run that through, I now have 4a squared x squared plus 4a bx equals, let me write this as negative 4ac. All right? The third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add something to both sides. What should I add to both sides? Oh, I don't know. B squared. You might be going, why B squared? And my answer to that is because it makes it work and because I can legally do that. I can add B squared to both sides of my equation. All right? I'm going to, just to get this organized, add the b squared to the left-hand side there and add the b squared to the right-hand side there. So now what we have is 4a squared x squared plus 4abx plus the b squared equals the b squared and then the minus 4ac. In that order, it looks prettiest. The fourth thing we're going to do is we are going to factor the left-hand side. LHS, factor the left-hand side. Now, that looks kind of like a mess, okay? But we do have 3 terms, and we do suspect that that could possibly factor into 2 binomials. We could unfoil it. Now, what do you suppose we would need here and here so that first times first gives us the 4a squared x squared? We're going to have a 2ax here and a 2ax here. First times first is 4a squared x squared. Now we are going to take outer times outer combined with inner times inner to give us the 4abx, but then we also want last times last to give us the b squared. So let's try a plus b here and a plus b here. Pause the video and FOIL that out to make sure we factored it correctly. Okay, so now you're back. Bring down the right-hand side of b squared minus 4ac. And so we have 2ax plus b times 2ax plus b on the left-hand side. We are going to write that as 2ax plus b quantity squared equals b squared minus 4ac. Now, don't forget that our variable here is x, and we're trying to solve for x. So now it's a matter of doing a little bit of algebra to get in there and solve for x. Well, we have something squared equals some things that just represent numbers with the b squared minus 4ac. So at this point, we are ready to do the square root of both sides. Entire sides. Now, when you take the square root of both sides, you got to do the whole side, not just each term. That's not a thing, okay? Don't forget your plus or minus sign over there on the right-hand side. What's remaining on the left-hand side is 2ax plus b, just that. On the right-hand side, we have positive and negative square root of b squared minus 4ac. Now, use a little bit of algebra to solve for x. First thing I want to do is subtract b from both sides. Move that out of the way. So we have 2ax on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we have the negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Now, solve for x by dividing both sides by 2a. You can divide the entire side by 2a if you would like. And so there you have derived the quadratic formula again. That's the same thing as what we got on the last method. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now that's going to be very important for you to memorize because we will be using it a lot. Okay, this is called the quadratic formula. It says in the purple box, for a quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. As long as a is not equal to 0, if a is equal to 0, you've got a linear equation, okay? But if you've got a quadratic equation and your first step is to write it in this form, you can get your solutions for x just by taking your a value and putting it in for a there and there. Okay, that's this a value. Take your b value, put it into your quadratic formula there and there. And then for your c value, you'll put that in there in your quadratic formula. Then it's a matter of simplifying. We'll see example 6 in the next video.